and welcome to Rossi Audio. Um, I have been asked to talk about two topics. Two topics. One is room acoustic and room treatment and how to treat your rooms. And the other one is crossover upgrades. I think today I'm going to make a video about crossover upgrades. Why is it important to upgrade your crossover? If you have bought a $20,000 pair of speakers, you don't need to update your crossover. If you bought a brand new speaker today, of good quality of course, you probably don't need to upgrade your crossover. However, if you buy vintage speakers, old speakers, there is a chance that the crossovers, if they are, let's say 15 plus years, 15, 20, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 years old, there is a huge possibility that those crossovers are 10% of what they used to be. A bad crossover will sound muddy. It will sound muffled. It can sound boomy in the bass. It can sound harsh in the top. And just all around a nasty sound. You can almost hear it. Even though if they sound fine, and you have a 20-year-old speaker, and you go like, well, this sounds just great. Well, you might want to upgrade your crossover anyway, because age is capacitors' enemy number one. And we're talking about capacitors here. Those are most of the time the things that you need to upgrade. The other things are normally fine. Normally, the resistors are fine. If they use a print board, it's normally fine. If they haven't used a print board, so, well, there you go. Why upgrade? Well, first of all, if a crossover goes bad, it can take the speaker with it and the amplifier with it. It all depends on how freaking lucky you are, or unlucky. So if you have old speakers with old crossovers, you want to make sure, almost call it like give yourself a warranty or a safety net that nothing bad will happen. And it will improve the sound, because a lot of the older speakers, we're talking like 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 years old, used capacitors that was on the market back then, and some of them were good and some of them were not. And if you look at the most brands that people have, the crossover parts that were used in more normal priced speakers are not top grade. They're often either 5 or 10% caps, and I suggest if you have 10% caps that you go down to 5. If you have 5% caps, you go down to 1%. You want to keep the same value on the cap, because that's what decides the crossover points. You can always go up on the voltage on the capacitors, but do not change the other values on it, except for the 10%. So why? Well, it will make your speakers sound like new again. It will make your speakers sound so much better, much more open, not as muddy, not as boomy. And you will hear a big difference between old crossover and upgraded crossover. You will, trust me. And just the insurance that you give yourself, that if you, and I'm gonna say this, use good quality capacitors in your crossover. Don't cheap out. Do not cheap out. Buy good quality crossover components, okay? not only will they sound better than the cheap ones, but they have a better quality, and they last longer. They take more heat. They take more of everything. So spend good money on capacitors, okay? Don't buy some Chinese cheap shit. Um, and then some people would say, well, what if I buy vintage capacitors, like a lot of these guitar amplifier dudes are doing? Well, I would say, even though that capacitor maybe haven't been used, it's still old. It can have leakage. It can be dried out. You never know. So why would you put something that is almost the same as you have in there when you can buy something new that is way better? Isn't that what you're looking for? Improvement of sound quality and decrease the risk of something going wrong. Because there's nothing more irritating than sitting there and playing music and all of a sudden everything goes dead and you find out that, well, you find out after a while, you start looking at things, what went wrong? You know, the amp is still on, the amp is still playing on other speakers, okay, so you know it is a speaker, and maybe you think, oh shit, I blew my drivers, but no, the drivers works, and you were lucky. You only blew the capacitor in your crossover, and some people are not that lucky, because sometimes the drivers goes with it, and sometimes it can backfire into your amplifier too. So it's an insurance also. And I mean, the cost today, I mean, it is worth spending a couple of $100 upgrading your crossovers. $250, $300. Is it worth it? Yes. So what happens with most capacitors are that they dry out, and sometimes they bust open, poof, and they start leaking. And trust me, it's not a nice smell when that happens. It smells bad. So yes, upgrade your speakers. Then some people ask, well, I have 5-year-old speakers. Okay, how do you think they are sounding today? Do you like the sound today? What brand are they? What kind of capacitors did they use from the factory? Did they put good money and good engineering into the crossover? Because there is so many different orders of crossovers and so many different layouts and so many different things that you also have to consider. What did the manufacturer put in there from the beginning? A lot of the speaker companies in the world back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s were fairly simple crossover networks, except for a few exceptions here and there. So you want to upgrade it. The benefit from upgrading is added insurance and security that something won't go wrong because of age, because of part weakness. If it goes wrong, it's because you use it wrong or something like that. And the second added bonus is you get a better sound quality, way better sound quality. The third reason is you increase the value of your speaker. So if you want to sell it down the road, you can tell a buyer that, hey, 2 years ago, I did a complete upgrade of the crossovers. That buyer will then know that that's good. And if you tell them, hey, I use this, quality approved parts, really good, that's a plus thing. So maintain or increase the value, decrease risk for something going wrong, and improve sound quality are the three most and obvious reasons why you should upgrade old crossovers. Not much more I can say about it. I'm not going to recommend one brand of capacitors over others. There's many out there. Jupiter, Mandorfs, a lot. There's like go to Mouser.com and take a look. They have pages on pages on pages with audio capacitors that are being used in audio. So that's my take on it. It's like, it's a short video because it's either yes or no. Should I upgrade my crossover in my old speakers? Yes. And then why? And you give them the reasons. That's it. There's not much more I can tell you, except for when you do an upgrade of your crossover, if there is a crossover with a lot of soldering points, clean your soldering points. Maybe even change out cables on the crossover, because a lot of crossovers have spaghetti thickness or even less on the cables and the wires. Change out the wires too, the thicker wires. If you have a room and it fits, 12 or 14 gauge on your crossover would be great. Will it improve the sound? Maybe, maybe not. Will it improve other things? Yes. Yes. But that's up for another video. So when you upgrade your crossover, capacitors, cables, and clean the soldering points, and of course check the other parts and check to see if there's something else that is wrong. Now, someone said or asked me, can I take that crossover out and replace it with one of those prefab crossovers that are selling online? Yes, you can. There's no problem doing it. You can take the old one out and put a new crossover in. But does it have the same crossover settings? Does it have the same order? Maybe not. Will it work as good as the original? Maybe not. Will it work better? Maybe, maybe not. You never know. But I wouldn't just take the old crossover out and put a new one in without checking very thoroughly about the new crossover points, the order, and if the new crossover that you put in is a different order with different crossover points, you will change the sound of your speaker, and you might not change it to something that is good, or it might be bad, or maybe you're lucky and find something that makes it sound better. But my advice is just change the caps, change the cables, clean the soldering points, and you're done. You're good to go.